Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Healing Train. I am your coach, otherwise your conductor, Bevon Squires, and today we are sponsored by Spirit Source Connection. At Spirit Source Connection, we believe that you are a multidimensional spiritual being and that you have supernatural power. That's right, that supernatural power that is enacted whenever you use your intuition, your creativity, your visualization, your imagination. These are all innate spiritual tools that we have been given to help us matriculate through this process of life. But I tell you what, today we are here because we're on the healing train where ordinary people come to share their extraordinary stories with us. We want to know, how did you make it from trauma to triumph? What's your secret to get from struggles to success? And I tell you what, everybody's trauma journey looks different. But the one thing that we do know, there will be ups, there will be downs, twists and turns along the way. But I'm telling you, if you stay buckled in, you're going to get a message from our passenger today. Now, if you remember, we had JP the Great on as our passenger back in July, I believe, and he has passed his ticket off to Dominique Simmons. Now, they call him Sims for short because he's just so cool like that. But he's going to come on and tell you of a time where it wasn't so cool. He's going to come on and tell you his authentic story of trauma to triumph. And with that, I tell you, let's go on and welcome Mr. Dominique Simmons to the healing train. Dominique Sims, would you like to come on and say hello to the people?
Good morning. Sim Serenade, the motivational performer. I'm a firm believer that actions speak louder than words, so that's why I call myself the motivational performer.
Like that. I like that. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Now, as you all know, this is the healing train, and we always talk about the energy harvest. This is a book that I wrote. It is a four-phased trauma healing process that we talk about here on the healing train. We know how important it is to first identify the trauma. And if you can't identify the trauma, how about we identify the feelings that are related to the trauma? And then we'll move on to the set section where we talk about the tools that we have available to us, tools and resources that allow us to heal the trauma and to continue to move it forward. And then we'll talk about the achieve section where your evolved, more healed version of yourself is now achieving wonderful things that were not possible at an earlier time in your life. And then we will wrap it up with the sustain portion of the book where we talk about how Serenade actually keeps his positive attitude and continues to put smiles on people's faces across the United States. But anyway, we're going to just jump on in with the identify section. Now, Sims, I know for myself, I did not come out of the womb knowing what fear was. I did not come out of the womb feeling any kind of self-doubt, low self-esteem, rejection. None of that was present in my life until later after I had experienced some trauma. And so being able to go back to that very first instant will allow us to address the trauma at the root. And that's what's so necessary here in order to heal. And so what we'd like you to do is come on to us and tell us how you were able to identify trauma in your life. What was it like for you growing up? And when did you first feel fear, self-doubt, rejection, any of those kinds of feelings? You can tell us about an instance about any of those feelings. So you go right ahead and take the floor.
Okay, I appreciate it. So you mentioned something, you say from the womb. I've always had this thought when I was born premature. The doctors, from what my mother told me, the doctors told her the best advice for her because there were certain complications. Hey, and I was born with a twin. Hey, they might come out mentally retarded, many uh, different names and things that the doctors were putting these names on us. And they told my mother, we would recommend that you may want to get an abortion because you there's a good chance that you may not survive. So with my mother telling me that as a child, before I even had a chance to say goo goo gaga, or in the womb, I believe, I had thoughts were developed. And as a child, you're in the womb, you hear things, you, whether it's music or everyday life going on. I say all that to say this: prior to me even being able to take a breath outside of the womb, there were others who put limitations and their opinions and beliefs on myself. So thankfully for myself, I had a strong-willed mother, with a strong mindset, who was like, no, my child will not be a statistic. So earlier on at a young age, I was already doubted. And my mom preached that to me over and over and over and over again. You are not a statistic. Do not believe the opinions of others. There's a digital mentor who I follow as well. He has a saying, do not let the opinions of others become your reality. So with that being in mind, I felt like I was always strong minded, but as I started to grow and develop, maybe in about third grade, I remember one time we had a project we had to do, and it said your age and your family and things like that. And I noticed, my age was a year off, a year above the other individuals. And one of the things that kind of haunted me for a while was, others making fun, like, oh, you failed. My mother made a decision, hey, we're gonna hold you back a year. In some school systems, it's like if your birthday is in the December, January range, they can hold you back or skip you up. And that's always been one of those things that kind of like mentally I had a challenge with. And I was like, I don't want peers of mine thinking that I'm dumb, truthfully, because that's unfortunately how we look at it. If you see somebody in a certain grade level and they repeat it, you're like, oh, they're dumb. That was more of a immature mindset that I had, because I honestly didn't know any better. And throughout years, it's been one of those challenges for me mentally where I'm like, do they think I can't keep up? Even to the point of trying to place a little blame on, my parents, like, what's wrong with y'all? Why did, these kids are they're roasting me. And again, it falls back to not allowing the opinions of others to become your reality. And my mother sat me down one day and was like, my grandma, really good cook, really good cook. She passed away, but she was like, all right, we're going to discuss this so you can understand that it's almost like having your grandmother's favorite pie. If she was to cook that pie for you and she left it in the oven too long, you wouldn't want it. It would be burnt. It would be no good. If she was to basically overcook, if she was to undercook that pie, this is your favorite pie that you love. If she was to undercook it, you wouldn't want it. It could potentially make you sick. But once she cooks that pie just right, how you like it, how you love it, then it's ready to be served and eaten. So adapting to that mindset of, it wasn't the matter of you're not smart enough. It's all about timing. So if I could share anything with, anybody that's listening, timing is of the essence. Timing is very important. You don't want to rush the process. You don't want to be too fast. You don't want to be too slow. You want to be just right, because God plants things in our lives in which, when it's just right, everything is smooth. So that for me was one of the biggest challenges throughout life that I had to deal with. And it even came to the point one time, I lied about it. I think I was on a church function. I was on a bus, and some of my peers were up there, and it was a young lady that was like, "Oh yeah, he's in this he's this age," and the ones that knew me was like, nah. And she was like, "No, I know he's this age. He told me." It was just like I was lying to myself to try to prove a point to other people, and ultimately, it was one of them things that I came to realization with. I don't have to prove anything to anybody else. It was something that I honestly believed helped me, because there's a point in time where I may not have been ready for what I thought I was ready for. And I hope that I answered all your questions. I know I was kind of going on with it, but really it was me kind of adapting a mindset. If anything, that's one of the one things that I really kind of felt like was a challenge. I really didn't feel you said a word, I really didn't feel stressed, or I forget the word that you used, but that was probably one of the most challenging things that I had to deal with as a child.
Sure.
You know, we don't, depending on where you grew up at. I, grew up in a public school. It was, like any area, like any other area, has its goods and its hoods and etc. But having certain people around me to promote that positivity was always good for me. So
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that answer. And what you said there, I don't know how many people could actually relate to that, but I know it's quite a few. I know in our family, one of my siblings was actually held back a grade. And I felt so bad for my sibling because I could only imagine what that could feel like, the shame that could come from that. And so listening to you share that was your experience with trauma. And like I said, everyone's experience is different, and we're not here to compare them at all. And so but what I'm so happy about is that the trauma that you just spoke about is a brand new one that we've not had on the healing train. So thank you for your unique expression, and thank you so much for your authenticity. What really impressed me was when you even went on to share that experience of how you wanted to hide the fact that you were not the same age as the rest of the children because of the way it made you feel, and how over time throughout life you have been challenged with that in the back of your mind. And that's exactly how trauma is, and that's exactly how triggers are. Things happen in life, and that thought about starting school early or late or whatever, maybe in the back of your mind, dormant, not bothering you seemingly, and then something will happen and trigger that response or trigger that memory, and now it's back into the front of your mind saying, wow, am I smart enough? Do they think I can't do this? What is going on here? And so I'm really happy to hear you talk about that, because so many people in an attempt to hide the trauma that they have experienced will become dishonest. They will try to become the chameleon. They will try to people please, anything to cover up being outed, anything to cover up being found out. You see what I'm saying? It goes back to the fight or flight where we used to, back in, early civilization, running from animals. Our lives were at stake. We could have easily died. Now it's our image that's at stake, and it could easily be killed by what other people think. And so sometimes we become so fascinated and overly concerned about what other people think that we begin to act in ways that don't represent us well. And so I'm happy to also hear you say, hey, do not allow the thoughts of others to overpower the thought of that you have for yourself. And so I was really happy to hear you give that suggestion to our audience. You are doing such a great job. And so we're going to go ahead and move on forward to the next section. The next section is the set phase of the Energy Harvest Workbook. And this is where we talk about the tools that you used to help you get past that thought that lives in the back of your head, or the one that would pop up about how people think of you and how people respond to you. What did you ever go through any therapy? Did you learn how to cultivate a relationship with a higher power, the God of your understanding? What was it that helped you get past feeling like somehow um, being put back in another grade left a stigma on you? How did you get past feeling that? How did you heal that part of you?
So, if I can honestly say, it took me years. I don't know when exactly. I'm definitely not bothered by it now. It was something that had to take place ultimately for today. It took me a while, and there was one point in time, maybe I thinking about maybe fifth grade. I think I'm creative. I think I'm an artist. Um, and I was drawing something one time, and I remember one of my teachers who definitely, I don't want to just throw this out there and say, oh, she was racist. Let's just say she wasn't in favor of the minority kids.
Okay.
And she attempted to, you spoke on therapy. She attempted to bring what I believe was like a psychiatrist, and was like, hey, we need to get him evaluated. That really didn't stem from the grade level, but that's the only time that I remember a type of therapist setting. We always had pretty good counselors, pretty good guidance counselors, that at least talk to you somewhat. And that actually had me livid when they attempted to, hey, we think he needs to be evaluated. I was furious. That was another one of those things that kind of, what do you mean I need to see a therapist? I was literally drawing something and they questioned the drawing. And the thing is, a lot of times, um, those who aren't artists, who aren't creatives, they don't understand artists and creatives. I think their imagination is limited. So when you kind of put those two together, they won't, they don't coincide. I felt like, her teaching style, which I later came to understand, not everybody is called to teach. Some just do it as a profession. And everybody's teaching style won't work for you. To be simple and plain, I thought her class was boring.
Okay.
And I oftentimes I would go into a creative space and attempt to draw. And for me, that was like therapy. Um, I never had a therapy or counseling thing like that, but mainly positive. It would always be positive, somebody positive along the way, along my journey. Specifically, I remember a teacher, and I wish I could get in contact with her, find her name is Johnson. She's like, it was relatable to me. She was an African American female who was encouraging me. That really, like, hey, I believe in you. Don't let them tear you down. I mean, without having those type of voices in my ear positively, Coach Jack, like very instrumental into my journey, who always kind of encouraged some, whether it was a little bit, a little bit, a lot of bit. That to me was the therapy or the therapist, somebody relatable. Hey, I believe in you. Let's stay focused. Let's do what we need to do to achieve the next level. Siblings, and of course, my parents always, but a lot of times, uh, parents put their kids in these public schools. The schools are raising the children a lot more than the parents. And a really good foundation for me was I was a club kid. Club kid meaning the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay.
Yeah, I loved it. One of the best things that for my generation, a lot of the club kids turned out fine. So that was the mainly the it factor for me, and I always had a faith-based background.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. The resources that we have available come in so many different shapes and sizes and forms. There's a resource available for any person that is looking for a resource. There's something available. It might not be the actual formal therapy, art therapy, or whatever, but there you were experiencing art therapy all on your own in fifth grade. You see what I'm saying? That's the one thing about our journey, is that the creator will always place people on our journey to help us along the way. A lot of times we think that we're supposed to get the help from this particular person or from this particular arena, and lo and behold, it came from somewhere unbeknownst. You know what I'm saying? It came from somewhere that was not a traditional form of therapy, a traditional form of support. Like you said, the coach, the teachers, they were my number one supporters, and they were the ones that gave me what I felt like I needed in order to feel confident within myself, even if just for that day. You know what I'm saying? And so I always look forward to going to school, and it sounded like school was your favorite place to be as well, except for that one boring teacher who didn't know how to teach you.
And you know what? Also, I have to give credit to this celebrity. A lot of times I don't physically know him. I may have the opportunity to meet him in the future, but me growing up, shows that I really admired and I was drawn to In Living Color. But mainly for me, like the Martin show, the Martin and the Jamie Foxx show. They were positive. Funny. I love to laugh. They
Yes.
were positive examples for me. And I was locked in. And for me, it didn't, a lot of times people say, oh man, don't watch too much TV. For me, it did me good. That was a really good show, I think. But ultimately, like my mindset of family orientation, togetherness versus a lot of the shows now that don't distribute that. They distribute a lot of pollution and negativity. So I definitely, entertainment for me, like entertainment is a form of therapy. Writing music, listening to good music, that was my therapy. And like I said, unfortunately, some people won't have the opportunity to physically meet a Bevon, but this platform of digital, TV, like you really have to tap into it on your own sometimes, because those people that you are trying to reach out to, they might not physically be available.
Sure. I love this digital age that we have. And, you said something so powerful, the programming. It's not the TV itself, it's the programming. It's what you're watching on the TV. How are you programming your mind? What are you doing for your mindset? I listen to frequencies at night when I go to bed, because I know my subconscious mind runs about 80% of my day. 80% of my life and our lives are ran by the subconscious mind. And so if that is going to be the thing that I'm going to live by, is my subconscious mind making my decisions and and the cues that I have for living, then I better put something in my subconscious mind that's going to reflect the kind of life that I'm trying to produce, the kind of life that I want to live. And so I listen to affirmations. This is what helps my mindset. I do the meditations. I at night when I go to bed, I listen to the frequencies just so that I know that I am well equipped and prepared with good stuff for the following day. And then I build upon it each day. And you would be surprised how many times I've caught myself reacting or responding, should I say, to something as a direct result of the programming that I have done, the work that I have done while I'm sleeping, the programming that I have put in. I've seen myself going to act out in a certain way that normally would have been my norm. But something happens and there is a pause, and I get to make a choice. Is this how you want to respond, or is this how you want to react? Is this how you want people to see you, or is this how you want them to judge you? And so it gives me a choice in that moment, when before I didn't feel like I had a choice, because it was think, do, think, feel, act. You know what I'm saying? Act, and it becomes a pattern. And so through that programming, like you were talking about, it is so important that we do something for that mindset so that we don't continue to repeat the same things over and over again. And being a creative mind as yourself, you know the value of, emptying out today so that you can fill up for tomorrow, and bringing out more creativity and more creativity. There's so much inside. And I love the way that you have used it for your therapy over the years. I think that is so awesome. And, thank you for bringing that out. And so, as we go on to talk more, I want to tell everyone, hey guys, we are here talking to Dominique Simmons. Here on the Healing Train. He has talked to us about how he was able to identify a troubling or challenging situation in his early life, through school, not being in the school grade age with the rest of his peers. He was a little bit older than them, and how that made him feel, hearing that he may have some mental challenges, which is not true. They just put those labels on him that didn't belong to him. And that happens a lot. But thankfully, he was able to outgrow that label. He was achieve and overcome the challenge that they had placed on him. And he did that through school. His coaches and teachers have been able to help him along the way, not to mention his family and a faith-based foundation. And so as we continue to move on, we're going to be talking about the achieve section next. And this is where we're going to ask Dominic to come on and talk about what has he been able to achieve as a result of healing that part of his life, as a result of being able to be his own person, think his own thoughts, be the creative that he is. How has he been able, or what has he been able to achieve now that he has come into his own? Now that traumatizing idea that he was incapable of thinking properly or learning properly, we dispelled that. And so now, Dom, come and tell us what you have achieved, what's going on in your life that is going to inspire someone who may have had the same challenge and who has not found a way through it yet. I want you to come on and tell them what you have been able to achieve in your life thus far.
All right, thank you. Ultimately, being able to overcome adversity. Adversity, this comes in different forms and fashions. Like I said, I've always been into the entertainment and always felt like I'm a creative, from writing music, publishing songs, to being on national television shows, movies. Very thankful for that. I've always had the imagination for creativity. So, when some of my peers, my siblings knew, like, man, you're always acting. And a lot of times, like, people will be like, bro, you be telling these stories, like, not negative, but I'd be like, I'm a creative. That's what I do. So turning those imaginative stories into songs, into being able to act in national, TV shows. I also, one of my most proud moments is me being able to turn that creativity into my first published book, I'm a children's author. So I've been able to go on tour with this book. You know, it's been a blessing. I went on tour 2 years in a row with that. Thanks to a young lady named Sharice Williams. She has her own company which highlights minority authors, African American authors. And for me growing up, I never really had very few African American authors that would read to me. So we're definitely trying to push that narrative and show that African American fathers are present in their children's lives. They do read to their children and things of that nature. So for me, overcoming that adversity, because back then being challenged with, is there something wrong with me? Can I not read on the level? It made me and encouraged me and inspired me to want to write my own children's book. And I've successfully done that. I'm currently like JP, he linking with certain people. Your network is your net worth. Always been a creative. Me and JP's worked together. And thankfully, I've been able to successfully be on tour with some of the biggest celebrities. And I don't just want to name drop just because, but to encourage people. These are facts. You can look it up. I've been blessed. Let me reiterate that, blessed to be on a tour with Country Wayne. He's a entertainer. Blessed to be on a tour with a guy by the name of Da Vinci. He's on one of the biggest shows out right now. Blessed to just last week, I was DJing for Mike Epps. So just putting myself in these, not really me, but putting the work in to be able to be in these different rooms, different positions, and always having an attitude of gratitude. That mindset as I got older, you have to be mindful. How they say about when you climbing up the bridge, you never know. Don't burn bridges because you never know the relationships. Relationships are very important. And for me to be able to have success, television shows, touring, DJing, um, touring with the book. I mean, I am extremely blessed and highly favored. And, I really want to encourage other individuals. It's having that faith base, strong faith base, having that determined mindset. If you can't get a physical mentor, get a digital mentor. Definitely try to get, around physical people, physical mentors and things like that. And your diet isn't all about food, like you mentioned. Your programming, what are you watching? Music is very popular. What are you listening to? What are you reading? Always trying to better your best. And something very important, that my grandmother and my mother would pass to me. My grandmother would be like, your friends, your peers, be mindful of the group you hang around. We all know the saying, if you're hanging around three broke friends, you're probably the fourth. And my grandmother would always say this, now, baby, your friends, they like buttons on an elevator. I'm like, Grandma, what you talking about? Now, listen to me, baby. Now, your friends could do one of three things. Like buttons on the elevator, they can take you up, they can get you stuck, or they can take you down. You better be careful who you hang around. And I just thought it was always funny, but I was like, you know what? She was absolutely right. Don't be afraid to listen to the elders. Not everything that everyone says is positive, but that mindset of like who are you hanging around? That is
Mhm.
very key because some people can definitely take you down. I've, unfortunately, but fortunately, have witnessed peers passing away,
Wow.
drugs, alcohol, you know, different things, different negative things, depression, suicide. And I've never been suicidal. I don't know what that feels like, but I had one of my friends who took his own life, and I was thinking to myself, could I had done more?
Mm.
It's something I could have done to, and that's one of my goals with my work. I want to motivate people to the point and have them say, well, he's successful, but he didn't do it through music or rapping or athleticism, unless I'm on a TV show. But he's successful because he planted these seeds and done these things. And man, like one of my ultimate goals is to literally have people say, you know what? You motivated me. I didn't take my life because I watched something that you did. I see the way you overcame these challenges. I didn't take my own life because of brothers like you, sisters like you. That's one of my goals. Thank you very much. Like, you encouraged me to do something different, to understand that you were born with purpose, on purpose.
Mhm.
So,
Wow, that is so powerful what you just said. All of that was so powerful. So many nuggets in there. First of all, before we go any further, please, sir, raise that book up. Tell us the title of that book and how we can purchase it.
it's called "What's the Biggest Nation in the World?" And I purposely, if you can see the cover, I purposely have the young African American young lady
Mhm.
leading. I have her purposely leading because that's what I believe. I tried to put the different cultures because my aim is to positively impact multiple cultures,
Yes.
world renowned, worldwide, and just showing that encouragement of, hey, she can lead too. Because typically, a lot of times, our African American women are put down,
Oh,
talked about in a negative light. And because I have a daughter, that was my main focus. So this will live beyond me. She will understand when she get older. Wow, my dad wrote a book, and it was me in a book. It's all about encouragement and wanting to pass it on so she can really feel like, hey, he's reached major success. And
yes.
and the things that he's accomplished, I'll be able to accomplish that and then some. So it's available on Amazon. What's the biggest nation in the world? Literally, if you type in Amazon biggest nation, and again, that was one of the most, I want to say, challenging things that I've started and finished. I had to
Yes.
discipline myself for it. One of the biggest investments. So please do understand, things definitely, it's going to cost you something, time, finances. And, I really feel achieved with that project. Not overall, it's still got work to do, but with that project, being able to get it done on time. And again, having a network where a young lady reached out to me, hey, I know you're an author. I know somebody who's putting a tour on, and if I could just expound a little bit on the tour, it was called the Children's Book Expo Tour. We went to about 8 different cities each year,
Wow.
and you have to be intentional. I think be genuine with your motives, because everyone has motives.
Mm.
Originally, I had to make an investment. How it worked was, you can come to this city, you have to pay for your table. Then that's how it worked. There's always an opportunity to solve a problem. And I don't know at what age I kind of discovered this. Somebody implanted it in me. But
Mhm.
I was trying to figure out, how can there's a problem that needs to be solved on the tour, respectfully, because the young lady did a phenomenal job with the tour and everything. And I noticed little things that, hey, I could add value to what you have. When you add value to people's lives, whew, and that genuinism. So what I did was I saw a couple things that I was like, just needed a little bit of tweaking and value added. I was like, hey, I can do this. I can, when the tour's over, you need help cleaning up. And some people may be opposed to helping in that manner, or that, and that's another thing that JP and I learned, like, hey, go the extra mile.
Yes.
You need help cleaning up? Hey, you need me to count the registered people that's coming in? Okay. You need me to, long story short, add value. And
Yes.
ultimately what ended up happening is I paid for 2 of the tour dates. By the 3rd date, they saw the value that I added and said, hey, we don't want you to pay for any more tours. Matter of fact, we're going to pay for your flights, your hotel. We want you to continue doing what you're doing. And by the 2nd year, I was one of the speakers for the tour. So, that really, that's my thrill. That's I'm excited to achieve that kind of network, those type of accomplishments. And, that's really how life has been so gracious. God has been so gracious to me by, being genuine, add value. Your network is your net worth. You never know who's watching. Literally, there's a big fest coming up in Atlanta. I don't know if you heard of it, but it's called Invest Fest. And I mean, a lot of people will be there, like Tyler Perry, Steve Harvey, Sean Combs. A lot of people. It's sponsored by guys that have a podcast called Earn Your Leisure. And, I don't want to ramble too much, but I'm just so excited with the doors that are opening. I will be at the fest. One way or another, I'll be there. And it's all about getting into the room, staying in the room, your network. And I've met these guys, Earn Your Leisure, met them in the airport. I travel a lot.
Yes, you do.
It's so many stories of people that on this social media platform that inspire me. Do you know Tabitha Brown is?
I don't know.
Oh my goodness. I definitely recommend checking her out. She'll be there. But I meet these individuals, and good energy knows good energy. These folks are dealing with millions of people DMing them. And I'm very thankful for individuals like a Tabitha Brown, like
I know who she is now, but go ahead. Yes.
Yeah. Guys like Wallow, Gilly the Kid, $1 million worth of game, Earn Your Leisure. All these individuals I've mainly met traveling, but I was in my purpose on purpose. And when I meet these individuals, the energy's good. Hey, can I talk to you for a second? And always, if you appreciate what they do with their gift, it doesn't hurt to give somebody praise. Hey, thank you. Because what you're doing is motivating me, and that's the same factor that I want to have on the individuals behind me.
Absolutely. And that's exactly the platform that we create right here on the Healing Train. People need to see individuals like yourself who had challenges, rose up and said, no, that's not who I will not be who you say I'm going to be. I will be who I was created to be, a creative. I am who I am on purpose. There was no mistake here. You embraced your purpose. You embraced that part of you that was sometimes misunderstood, and you still continued to rise. You still continued to embrace your journey and learn the hard lessons and put yourself out there. You learned how to not allow those insecurities of your 3-year-old Sims to come and sabotage anything that adult man Sims was accomplishing. Along the way, the creator put people in your path that could take you to the next level. You were ready, willing, and able to make that move. You had the courage to step out and step up. And now look at you now. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, if it can happen for Sims, if it can happen for me, it can happen for you as well. And thank you so much. Your story is so inspiring. And so the last phase of the book is the sustain phase, and you've talked all about how you've already actually covered that part about how you sustain your positive attitude, and it's through the networks. Your network is your net worth. Did you guys hear that? Let me repeat that again. Your network is your net worth. Get out there, say hello, find the people that are doing the thing that you want to do, make contact, and see what happens, because you just never know. Like Sim said, these people all have humanity. They all have a spirit of genuinism and the humility that goes along with it. I'm telling you what, you just can't make this stuff up. It is so wonderful. And when he says that he travels a lot, flies a lot, we have been trying on numerous occasions to get this man here on the healing train. I'm so honored that we finally got our schedules to sync so that you were able to come on here and talk to our community today. This is such an honor. Now, as we move to the next section, which is sustain, can you give us maybe one or two things that you do on a daily basis to help keep you positive, to help keep you moving in the right direction, and to help keep you humble with a genuine spirit? Tell us what you do on a regular basis.
Absolutely. I have a notebook, basically like a journal, so to speak, that I write positive affirmations to myself.
There you go.
I keep the mindset of kill ignorance with intelligence.
Oh.
I definitely, with the faith-based background, every Wednesday we have a spiritual call to keep that. It's like food, hey, keep the mindset of that. And really having a good support system. You typically don't find good support systems, you create them.
Ooh-wee.
And one of my siblings, my twin, he said this to me, because it happens to us all. I was upset about something, and he's like, man, you still talking about that? Man, that happened hours ago. You still talking about that? He said, don't allow a 20-minute encounter to affect your 24-hour. And I was like, man, this dude here.
Can you repeat that one time? I don't think they heard you in the back pew. Can you say that one more time?
Don't allow a 20-minute encounter to affect your 24-hour. And a lot of times we do that. We're thinking about something that somebody said to us in the morning. We done told the story to 7 to 20. Listen, they had the audacity to talk to me like, and they ain't even thinking about you no more. So doing things like that, always, like, I'm always smiling. Like, after maybe that third grade situation, I've always developed that I'm a smile, because you never wear your emotions. Don't wear your emotions. I'm happy. I'm blessed. I'm thankful. I understand what I'm saying right now. I know where I'm at. I see you. You see me. I hear you. These are little things that a lot of people take for granted. I am extremely blessed. Yeah. So always keeping that in mind, like, it could be worse. Mm. You could be somewhere not knowing what's going on. Yeah. So keeping those things in mind, the journal, having a team that uplifts me. And, just the other day, thankfully, my father is present and still in my life. I love that man. I called him just to vent. Pops, I appreciate you. Let me vent. All right, man, have a good day. Finding people like that, accountability partners. Gotta do the work. Gotta do the work to find these individuals. They're out there, and it will be challenging. And some will only be for a season. You can't hold on to everything. And the last thing that I'm gonna say is, it's like boosters on a rocket. I think Steve Harvey said this, but when it comes to certain relationships, something I like to say, your attitude determines your altitude. May your dreams create success. May God bless your success. Am I saying if you're not moving and grooving in the right direction, you got to be more careful. It's different altitudes that people are trying to go. At least I think so. And the main thing about the rocket ship, once it gets to a certain altitude, the boosters have to come off. Those are examples of some people that you gotta let go. If you don't let them go, the rocket ship is going to crash. It's not going to go to its destination. So, you gotta keep that in mind.
Wow, that was so powerful. Thank you so much for that great analogy because that is the truth. You can go so far, but in order to reach that highest altitude, there's going to have to be some dead weight to come off of that rocket ship. And we don't determine who that is or when that is. That happens as based on our purpose, based on our evolution, based on the creator. We just have to stay in a position where we are willing to let it fall off. And that's where we sometimes get stuck with our emotional attachments. We don't want it to be just a season. We want it to be a lifetime. And so here we are putting lifetime energy into a seasonal operation, and it's just backwards and not taking us where we actually want to be. So thank you so much for bringing that out. You have been such a wonderful passenger. Oh my goodness. You guys, haven't we had a great time with Dominique Simmons today? We have had a great time with you again. We thank you so much for joining us here at the Healing Train. And of course, this is where ordinary people come to talk about their extraordinary stories, how they've gone from trauma to triumph, from struggle to success. Dominic brought all of that to the table today. He brought his authenticity. He brought his vulnerability. He brought his magnetism. He brought all of that. He even threw a little humor in there and all of grandma's wisdom. And so I hope you guys enjoyed this episode as much as I did. And until the next time, be blessed. I'm going to ask God to bless you real good. And I will see you next time on the next episode of The Healing Train. And in the meantime, go take care and be blessed. Thank you again so much, Dominic Simmons, for being here with us today. You want to say goodbye?
I'm very thankful for the opportunity to have this moment in history with you. I appreciate you. I love the work that you're doing, and I'm going to pray for you and hope and believe that it's going to get bigger and better for you.
I receive it. We receive that, don't we, guys? Thank you so much. And until next time, we will see you. Bye-bye and be blessed.
Thanks.